My beloved child, gently lay down the worries that have been weighing upon your shoulders, and stand still in the tenderness of this moment. It is not by chance that you are reading these words, nor is it a coincidence that your heart has been drawn into this quiet place today. There are days that pass like ordinary winds, but there are also days I appoint as sacred doors, opening a path you had never before been brave enough to enter. Today is such a day. I do not call you to rebuke you, nor do I draw near to remind you of the places where you have stumbled. I call you to lift you up, to place a new faith within you, and to let you know that darkness may cover you for a season, but it cannot possess the destiny I have preserved for you from the beginning. Perhaps you have looked back over the years that have passed and wondered why you had to walk through such winding roads, why some prayers seemed to fall into silence, why certain doors closed just when you thought you had finally touched hope. But my child, what you call delay is often my quiet protection. What you think is loss is often the way I set you free from things no longer worthy of your future. I have seen every tear you hid behind your smile, every night you tried to be strong though your heart was weary, every time you wanted to give up but still quietly kept walking. Nothing in your life has been forgotten by me, even the broken pieces you thought were nothing more than ruins. I can still gather with loving hands and build from them a testimony more radiant than anything you ever imagined. So do not call your journey meaningless. Do not see the turns in the road as mistakes simply because they did not look the way you expected. There are paths I do not explain immediately, because if you knew everything from the beginning, you might become afraid and stop. Yet I still go before you, still place quiet signs along the way, still open paths in places that seemed impossible. You have not wandered alone. Every step, whether trembling or slow, has remained beneath my merciful gaze. I do not measure your worth by the times you have fallen, nor do I define you by the past you are trying to overcome. I see you through the completion I have planted within you, through the harvest that will come, through the light that will rise when you stop condemning yourself and begin to believe that I am still working in your life. Remember Joseph, who was thrown into a pit by the very people who should have loved him, then sold away as though his life were only an object in the hands of others. The years that followed were not easy. He was misunderstood, imprisoned, and forgotten in a dark place. If seen through human eyes, everything appeared to be moving against the beautiful promise. But in the silence of the prison, I was still weaving another garment for him. Not the garment that had been torn from him in the past, but the garment of wisdom, power, and forgiveness. When the appointed time came, the door opened not by human strength, but by my arrangement. Joseph stood before those who had wounded him, not to take revenge, but to preserve life, to prove that what was meant for harm could still be turned by me into a source of blessing. So it is with you. The things that once caused you pain do not have to be the end. In my hands, they can become the beginning of maturity, compassion, and a wider vision. Therefore, do not be quick to consider the time that has passed as wasted. There are seasons when you thought you were standing still, yet I was actually making your roots grow deeper. There are times when you thought you were hidden away, yet I was protecting you from the hurried gaze of the world until you became strong enough to step out. A seed does not sprout amid noise. It grows beneath the soil, in darkness, in stillness, where no one sees. And you, too, have been nurtured in such places. The days when you quietly endured did not make you smaller. They forged endurance within you. The times when you prayed but did not yet see the answer did not mean I was far from you. They taught you to recognize my voice, not only in radiant miracles, but also in the gentle peace that remains in the midst of storms. My child, Stop standing before the mirror of the past to search for a sentence against yourself. Mistakes have no right to rule your future if you know how to place them in my hands. I do not wait for you to become perfect before I love you. I love you right where you stand. And that very love will lift you out of what is old. When you are weak, I do not despise you. When you are weary, I do not turn away. When you lose your way, I do not close the door. I am the Father of new beginnings, the one who can cause dawn to rise after the longest night. You may have lost an opportunity, but you have not lost my care. You may have moved more slowly than others, but you have not been removed from the gracious plan I have for you. Do not compare your journey with anyone else's, for each of my children is led through a different valley, refined in a different fire, and lifted up at a different appointed hour. Now I want you to open your heart like dry ground, receiving the first rain of the season. Let my tenderness touch the places you once kept hidden. Let hope return, not a fragile hope based on circumstances, but a steadfast trust anchored in my faithful nature. You do not need to understand everything in order to keep walking. Sometimes the most beautiful faith is not when you can see the long road ahead, but when you can see only the next step and still place your foot down because you know I am holding your hand. I will not lead you to a place of grace only to abandon you halfway. I will not awaken a holy longing within you just to let it wither in disappointment. What I begin, I have the power to complete what I plant. I can cause to bloom in its proper season. So rise, my beloved child, not by your own strength, but by the support that comes from me. Step out of self-accusation, out of the fear of being left behind, out of the feeling that it is already too late. Before my eyes, today is still filled with opportunity, and my hand is still extended over your life. I will use even the wounds that have healed to become soothing oil for others. I will use even the days when you once cried to make your voice deeper, truer, and fuller of compassion. You are not merely being comforted, you are being awakened. You are not merely forgiven, you are being rebuilt. You are not merely led through the darkness, you are called to become a gentle lamp for those who are lost. Trust me one more time, for I am still here, still loving you, still leading you, still calling your name with unchanging tenderness. And from this moment on, walk as one who has been touched by grace, because your life does not end in brokenness. Your life is being written onward by me in light. My beloved child, be still in this moment, and let every noise running through your mind be laid down before my gentle presence. There are things you thought were only passing feelings, only a sleepless night, an unnamed uneasiness, a moment of waking in the darkness with your heart pounding and your breath heavy. But I want you to understand that your life is not seen only by outward eyes. There are quiet movements taking place around you, invisible pressures trying to make you forget whom you belong to, and fears attempting to enter the place that should have been rest. But, my child, I do not speak this to make you anxious. I speak so that you may awaken, so that you may know you are not small before the night, not alone in the quiet room, and not abandoned to things you cannot see. I am your Father, the one who watches over you when your eyes close, the one who remains awake when everyone around you has fallen asleep. Perhaps you have entered the night with a worry you could not explain. At times you lay down while the matters of the day still echoed within your heart. At times you thought you were at peace, but only a small sound, a troubled dream, or a sudden heaviness pulled you into fear. You wondered why there were nights when you could not fully rest, why the place that should bring restoration became a place where you had to wrestle with dark thoughts. My child, I see it all. I see the tears without sound, the times you turned over in the darkness, not knowing whom to call, the moments you tried to appear strong during the day but at night felt tender and weak. Not one moment of your life is taken lightly by me. I do not stand far away watching you struggle alone. I come near, bend down, and cover you with a protection no dark power can pierce. So do not regard the place where you rest each night as merely ordinary space. It is the place where you need to entrust every burden back to me. The place where you learn to close the day with faith rather than fear. The place where you allow my presence to become a wall of peace around your mind and heart. The adversary always seeks to turn silence into a doorway for confusion, darkness into a veil of fear, and sleep into a place where you are disturbed. But remember this, the night is not outside my authority. The moon and stars still move by my command. Your breath is still kept in my hand, and every heartbeat within your chest is still watched over by my unfailing compassion. What you need is not to tremble before the unseen, but to recognize that what is unseen and greater than every threat is the loving power of mine covering you. I want you to remember the boy Samuel in the temple long ago. When night had fallen, every sound seemed to grow still, and he lay resting in the holy place without fully understanding what I was preparing. In that stillness, I called his name, not in a noisy crowd, not on a roaring battlefield, but in the quiet night, where a child could listen with simplicity. At first Samuel did not recognize my voice, but then he learned to answer with obedience. Do you see? The night is not only a place of testing, the night can also be a place where I speak. What the enemy wants to use to make you panic, I can turn into the place where you recognize my nearness. What once frightened you can become an altar of trust if you turn your heart toward me and say, Father, I am here. Keep me in your peace. From now on, when night comes, do not enter rest like someone passive before the darkness. Enter it like a child returning beneath the roof of the Father's house. Before you close your eyes, lay every worry down. Entrust to me the unfinished conversations, the memories that hurt you, the responsibilities that weigh heavily on your shoulders, the things you cannot yet solve. You were not created to carry the whole world into your bed. Some burdens must be taken off before night falls, because if you keep holding them in your heart, weariness will try to lie to you and tell you that you are not protected. I want you to know that rest is also an act of faith. When you sleep in surrender, you are declaring that I am still working even when you are doing nothing, that I am still watching even when you no longer have the strength to watch over yourself. If dark thoughts come to you, do not converse with them for too long. Do not let fear lead you through imaginary corridors of disaster. Return to the truth that you belong to me. Let prayer rise gently like fragrance from the deepest place within you. There is no need for long words. No need to try to prove anything. A trusting heart. A single cry of Father. A sincere surrender is enough to open the way for light to come in. I do not require you to be strong by your own strength. I only want you to cling to me. When you cling to me, courage will grow. When you take refuge in me, your mind will be set in order again. When you allow me to stand between you and the darkness, what once made you tremble will lose its right to control you. Beloved child, understand that the peace I give is not an empty silence, nor a temporary feeling that comes only when circumstances are favorable. My peace is a hidden river, able to flow through windy nights, through an unlit room, through moments when you do not yet understand why you feel uneasy. That peace does not deny that there is a battle, but it declares that you do not fight alone. That peace does not say darkness does not exist, but it affirms that darkness has no throne higher than my light. I have placed protections around you that your eyes have not seen, sent help ahead before you even knew you needed it, and stopped many things you never knew about. One day you will understand how many times I kept you from invisible arrows, from hidden traps, from pressures that wanted to bend your faith. Therefore, tonight and in the nights to come, enter rest with the posture of one who has been covered. Do not let the memory of old restless nights decide your expectation for the new night. I am teaching you another way of life, the life of one who knows how to guard the mind in purity. Close the doors that lead into anxiety, and invite my light to reign in every small corner of the room. Every thought, every breath. Let your lips speak what is good. Let your heart turn toward what is bright. And let the things you see, hear, and hold during the day not become burdens that trouble you when night comes. Watchfulness is not living in tension. Watchfulness is staying near me, being sensitive to what is pure, and refusing to give authority to voices that do not come from love. I am with you, my child. When you lie down, I do not leave. When you dream, I still guard you. When you wake in the middle of the night, I am there even before you can call my name. Do not fear the quiet room, for that silence can be filled with my presence. Do not fear the darkness outside the window, for my light does not need the sun in order to shine. Do not fear the whispers of uneasiness, for my voice is gentler, deeper, truer, and has the authority to calm every storm inside you. Rest in me like a child held in the Father's arms. Trust that my hand rests upon you and does not depart. And from tonight onward, receive rest as a holy gift. For I have called you out of fear, brought you into peace, and taught you that, even in the deepest night, you are still loved, protected, and covered by my merciful power. For a long time, I have touched your life gently through small things. Sometimes it was a peaceful morning that suddenly brought tears to your eyes. Sometimes it was a prompting that made you not want to continue into a certain place. Sometimes it was a sudden heaviness in your heart while everything outwardly still seemed normal. You told yourself it was only emotion, only tiredness, only a moment of weakness that would pass. But my child, not everything quiet is meaningless. There are signs I send that are not loud, because I do not want to force you. I only gently awaken you, like the hand of a father placed on the shoulder of a child sleeping beside the road. I do not want you to go far away before realizing you have lost your way. I do not want you to seek me only when your heart is drained. I want you to hear my voice, while everything can still be redirected in peace. What I want you to be cautious about is not only the great events that shake your life. A violent storm is easy to recognize, and the sound of collapse easily causes you to turn back in alarm. But there are things more dangerous because they come in a form very small, very familiar, and very easy to excuse. An impure thought held on to a little longer, a compromise you call insignificant, a connection that slowly darkens your heart while you continue to justify that you can control it, a habit that steals your brightness day by day. While you treat it as a way to unwind, darkness rarely enters through a large door. It often slips through the cracks you do not guard. It does not always shout to frighten you, but softly whispers that you do not need to be serious, do not need discernment, do not need to return right now. And those whispers, if you let them remain too long, will make your eyes grow used to the dark until you no longer remember how gentle the light once was. I do not say this to condemn you, because I know there have been days when you tried harder than others could see. I know that behind your calm appearance, there are battles no one knows about. I know there were times you smiled only so others would not ask more, while inside you were weary and needed to be held. But my child, false composure is not the peace I give. True peace does not force you to hide your wounds, does not make you pretend that everything is well, does not tell you to keep walking in old ways when your heart has grown heavy. True peace will lead you back to me, will give you the courage to look at what is drawing you away from the light, and will give you the strength to close the doors that no longer belong to your new season. Remember King Josiah, who was still very young when he was placed into great responsibility. Around him was a nation that had grown accustomed to mixed worship, accustomed to distorted things until they no longer saw them as dangerous. Many people had perhaps lived in that normality for so long that they did not think they needed to change. But then one day, while my house was being repaired, the book of the law was found. Those holy words rang out like a lamp shining into a dusty place. Josiah did not treat it as a small matter, nor did he excuse himself by saying that everything had been this way for a long time and should remain so. He humbled himself, listened, repented, and led the people back to what was pure. Do you see? Restoration sometimes begins with a moment when you are willing to stop and listen to what I am revealing. A life may have grown used to dust, but once my light is invited in, forgotten things will be found again. Ruined places will be repaired, and true worship will be established once more. In the same way, I'm inviting you into an inner restoration, not restoration through haste or self-condemnation, but through gentle obedience. Let me show you the places that need to be cleansed, the voices that need to be silenced, the habits that need to be laid down, the concerns that need to be handed back to me. There are things you thought you were holding for safety, but in truth, they are holding you back in anxiety. There are things you thought were sources of comfort, but they only make you forget the true source of life. There are places in your mind where you have grown used to returning, but each time you come back from them, you feel less bright, less joyful, less near to me. I do not want you to live in that mixture. I call you to purity, not because I am harsh, but because I love you too much to watch you slowly lose the beauty I placed within you. From now on, learn to bring the holy impressions you once ignored before me. When your heart suddenly feels uneasy about a decision, do not be quick to dismiss it. When you feel the need to leave a conversation, a place, or habit, do not call it oversensitivity. When a dream, a memory, or a prompting causes you to want to pray, respond with humility. I have many ways to protect you, and you will not always understand them immediately. Sometimes I stop you before a path that seems good. Sometimes I allow your heart to grow heavy so you will not move too quickly. Sometimes I let silence cover you, not to make you lonely, but so you can hear clearly what the noise has hidden. You do not need to understand everything before you obey. You only need to trust that my hand always leads you in love. So, my beloved child, do not wait until you are standing at the edge of the cliff before turning back. Do not wait until your heart is exhausted before seeking rest. Return today, in this very moment, with an honest heart. I do not require you to bring me a perfect life. I only invite you to bring me a life willing to be illuminated. Speak to me about the things you are wrestling with, the places where you know you have been weak, the whispers you have listened to for too long. I will not send you away. I will not use your weakness to shame you. I use mercy to lift you up, light to lead you out, and truth to free you from the soft yet dangerous chains that have tried to hold you. My beloved child, let your heart grow still before my gentle voice, for there are things I want to set in order within your thoughts today. You have heard too many whispers that have confused you, that you are late, that the good door has closed, that the years behind you were only a long stretch of waste, that others have gone far ahead while you still remain behind. But I speak to you with the kindness of a father. Do not allow fear to dress time in the garments of the enemy. Time is not against you when it rests in my hands. The days and years that have passed are not soldiers coming to steal your future. They are quiet tools I have used to shape, teach, deepen, soften, and prepare you for what you could not have carried if it had come too soon. There are blessings that, if placed in your hands while your heart was still hurried, would have burdened you instead of bringing you joy. There are doors that, if opened before you were steady enough, would have made you enter with excitement, but without the endurance to remain. There are responsibilities that, if they came before their season, would become pressure that wore you down rather than honor that matured you. Therefore, I have not always answered you according to the pace you desired. I did not delay because I forgot you, nor did I withhold because I wanted to hurt you. I waited with you like a patient gardener beside a seed, knowing that if a sprout is pulled from the soil simply because one wants to see it grow quickly, that very impatience will wound it. You, too, are growing in hidden places where human eyes cannot see, but my hand still cares for you each day. Do not measure your worth by speed. The world often honors rapid progress, visible results, and achievements announced loudly. But in my kingdom, what is lasting is often formed in secret. Roots do not display themselves, but without roots, the tree cannot withstand strong winds. Foundations are not praised when people look at a beautiful house, but the foundation determines whether that house will stand through storms. The years you considered silent may have been the years I was digging a deeper foundation within you. The seasons when you thought you were hidden may have been the time I was teaching you humility, discernment, patience, and faithfulness. You were not forgotten in obscurity. You were being protected from a spotlight you had not yet been prepared to stand beneath. I know there were times when you looked at others and felt your heart sink. You wondered why they stepped into the things you once prayed for, why they seemed to move faster, why they were recognized while you were still quietly trying. But, my child, you do not know the whole journey I have given them, just as they do not know the full work I am doing in you. Do not let comparison make you doubt my love. Each of my children has a season to sow, a season to wait, a season to bloom, and a season to bear fruit. The lily does not need to envy the olive tree, for each was created for its own beauty and purpose. If you keep looking across another person's field, you will miss the small green shoots quietly rising in the very soil I entrusted to you. Remember Moses, who once thought he had lost the greatest opportunity of his life. He left the palace, entered the wilderness, lived among sheep and days that repeated themselves as though nothing significant was happening. 40 years in the desert could make a person think everything had ended, that youth had passed, that the calling had been buried beneath the dust of the wilderness road. But I did not see those years as wasted. In the wilderness, I taught Moses to listen to the wind, to learn patience with vulnerable creatures, to understand the way through dry places, and to be separated from the pride of the palace so he could become a man able to lead my people with meekness. When the bush burned, but was not consumed, it was not a random beginning. It was the moment I called a man who had been prepared in silence. Do you see? What you call delay may be the sacred school I use to train you for the day you are sent. Therefore, do not despise ordinary days. Do not consider small tasks, repeated responsibilities, quiet battles, and the times when you had to choose what was right without anyone praising you as useless. I use even these things to make you steady. A heart that has not learned faithfulness in small things will easily tremble when entrusted with greater things. A person who has not learned to bow low will easily lose purity when lifted up. A hand that has not learned to care for little things may wound precious things when much is entrusted to it. Because I love you, I teach you slowly, because I want you to stand firm. I do not skip foundational lessons, because I know what waits ahead is greater than you have imagined. I will not let you enter it with a confused mind and a heart not anchored in me. Perhaps you have cried over things that came late. Perhaps you once asked for a sign, an answer, a door, a change, then grew weary when everything seemed still. But, beloved child, stillness is not always absence. Sometimes it is the room where I am doing the deepest work. The potter does not always make a loud noise while shaping the vessel. Many times, there are only patient hands, soft water, and steady turning. You are being held in my hands in the same way. There are places in you that need to be softened. There are sharp edges that need to be made gentle. There are cracks that need to be healed before you are used to carry something more precious. I am not in a hurry, because I do not build temporary things. I build what endures. Stop believing the words that say, "You are too late." Too late is the language of despair, not my voice. In my hands, one day can open what many years could not, yet I also use many years to prepare you for one single day. Do not see seasons of waiting as prisons. See them as places where I keep you from what is not yet right. Do not let fear retell the story of your life with bitterness. Let me retell it with grace. Those years taught you to love people more deeply. Those failures made you more humble. Those empty spaces taught you to treasure my presence more. Those times of beginning again helped you understand that your worth is not found in achievement, but in my unchanging love for you. My child, believe that time under my authority can become a servant of holy purpose, not a destroyer of your hope. I am using every season to deepen you, every trial to refine you, every silence to teach you to hear more clearly, every waiting period to enlarge your heart. When the hour comes for me to open the door, you will understand why I did not allow everything to happen sooner. You will look back and see that even the roads that seemed winding led you exactly where you needed to be. So do not fear slowness. Do not fear being hidden. Do not fear the quiet years. I am your Father, and I do not waste anything you have gone through. Rest in my faithfulness, for what I have prepared for you will come in the right season. And when it comes, you will not only rejoice because you have received it, but you will also be mature enough to enter it. Guard it, and make it bear fruit.